Passion, talent, development. NCAA hockey offers all that, and its players graduate at a 93% rate. Trevor Zegras.
And they score on the lacrosse move!
Jake Gensel.
Gensel banks it towards the goal. He scores!
Cale Makar.
Cale Makar, he scores!
Stars on campus before the NHL stage. Whether you're a fan or a player, nothing compares to college hockey.
My goodness gracious me!
Visit collegehockeyinc.com and follow at College Hockey.
Welcome to College Hockey Today, a college hockey podcast where I promise to limit the references to the Toronto Blue Jays. Joined as always by Grand Forks Herald reporter Brad Schlossman. Schloss, thanks for joining us. You've had a hectic couple of weeks. You had a Sunday game 2 weeks ago on the road and then had to scoot back for rivalry week against Minnesota, North Dakota, Minnesota. You had a chance to catch your breath yet?
This week a little bit, finally. But yes, that was, as always, such a great weekend. You have two rivals that are always so competitive. In their last 10 series, there's only been one sweep. So that just kind of shows how it doesn't matter I know that's the cliche. It doesn't matter when one team's good and what ups and downs. They're always, but like for real, the statistics show that in this rivalry, that it doesn't matter where these teams are at. They always play great games. And we had a couple games tied in the third period, and they went each way each night. So I think that's the kind of indicative of how this rivalry plays out. The atmosphere in the building was great. Again, as you always see, you drive down University Avenue and all the fraternities have signs hanging from their side of the wall that have to do with the rivalry. And it just felt like it was back a little bit, and some guys got introduced to it. And, now for me...
sorry to interrupt. I was just going to say, these are two teams that are still learning about themselves.
Yeah.
A lot of new pieces. Minnesota was a pretty desperate team Saturday, I would imagine, with a 4-game unbeaten winless streak at the time. Do you get the sense, rivalry aside, all of that aside, do you get the sense both teams can live with a split at this point in the season this early?
Yeah. I think both teams can live with it, and I think both teams are a little bit irked that that was the result.
Right.
I think that's probably the case normally in this series. But you're right. Both these teams have a lot of young players in there, a lot of new players. I think there were only 5 guys on North Dakota's roster that have ever played in this, and I think there were like 6 or 7 in Minnesota's lineup that have ever played in this. So that's the one weird part about this rivalry, is now it comes in the first month of the season when really both teams are trying to figure out who they are, much less who their opponent is. And we saw some good performances, and I thought a lot of them were from the older guys who had been around and been through it, which probably isn't a huge shock.
Before I interrupted you, I would guess you were about to say you're off to North Country this week.
I am excited about that. I have never been to North Country. It will be a great weekend. North Dakota is playing at Clarkson, and we're staying in Canton, which is the home of St. Lawrence. So I'll get a taste of both cities, which I'm really excited about. I wish St. Lawrence was home on Thursday so I could go to a game at Appleton. Might have to sneak on over to Appleton just to see it, though. Just two classic college hockey venues in towns, and these are my kind of towns. I'm excited for it.
Should be a great trip for sure. We've got a lot to get to. It was another really fascinating weekend around the country. We have a new number one. We have some independents that pull off some nice victories, a lot of great individual performances. But let's start with, what did we learn last weekend?
What I learned last weekend is that Quinnipiac is going to be a national championship contender, and may just well be the best team in the country right now that nobody's really talking about. I think they are legit candidate to be the number one overall team. And it comes down to just look at how their games are being played right now. They are dominating these games. The shots on goal are, not close in a lot of these games. And this weekend really impressed me to see them play Maine, who's a very good team, outshoot Maine 39-22 the first night, 33-19 the second night. Get a win and a tie. Now, Friday's game was a little bit hairy for a while for Quinnipiac. I think they scored 2 goals with their goalie pulled at the end of that game. Extra attacker goal by Groenwald and Wilmer to tie it. They were down 4-1 at one point in that game, which also tells me a lot about the fact that they're able to come back and tie that. But no team has stayed within 10 shots on goal of Quinnipiac this year. And this is what they did with that national title team that won it all. And the year before, even when they were great, they just dominate teams territorially with the number of chances they generate. And it's not like they've played a soft schedule. This includes games against in college, Notre Dame, Maine, and Maine. Those are 4 of their games. They also played Holy Cross, who's going to be one of the better teams in Atlantic hockey, if not the best. And then the other one was Alaska, which they actually lost. But again, I look at the shots and see 34-20. You're like, well, that's not a super concerning loss to me.
So it was also a Friday afternoon game where weird things tend to happen.
In Arizona.
And Alaska's going to give a lot of teams fits this year anyway. So, road wins at BC and Holy Cross, home win and a tie against Maine, and then the split at the Icebreaker. So 1 loss in their first 6. And you look at some of the rankings, they're top 5 in both shots on goals against per game. To your point, the best Rand Pecknold teams have always suppressed shots by the opponent.
Yep.
And then they're top 10 in goals per game, goals against per game, face-off percentage. They're just outside the top 10 shots on goal per game. So a lot cooking there. And the power play went, I think, 4 for 11 last weekend against Maine.
Yeah, the one thing, the concern I had heading into the season is when you looked at all those great Quinnipiac teams, they were all really old on the back end. They had old veteran defensemen. This is completely different makeup, actually. This is not an old defensive core. In the past, they had gone out and got 2 or 3 transfers just to have some older guys on the back end. They only got 1 in Will Gilson. And, that's where I was like, are they really going to be – is it going to be the same without all those older defensemen? And what we're finding out is, it is. And this might be one of the better Quinnipiac teams. So, I think they're going to dominate in the ECAC this year. We will talk about the one team that I think might push up a little bit, but I don't think anyone's going to catch Quinnipiac. I think they're going to win the league again. And, watch out for the Bobcats on the national stage.
9 players already with 4 points or more. So a really balanced team. Jeremy Wilmer keeps scoring. Ethan Wittenbach keeps scoring. They've got 7 points out of Aaron Schwartz so far. A lot of balance. I think the team save percentage I looked this morning was about 906. You'd like to see that creep up. To a point.
Which is scary.
A tough schedule so far. So if that comes up, look out. Yeah,
that adds to how scary this team is. It's not like they're getting out of this world save percentage goaltending. And, for as much as we always talk about how Quinnipiac suppresses shots, which they do, this team also gets pucks to the net the other way. It isn't just a team that will play really, they can generate offense is what I'm trying to say. And on this team, you mentioned a bunch of the guys that are able to generate offense and are doing it. We didn't even bring up Mason Marcellus or Chris Pelosi and some of these really high-end forwards that Quinnipiac has. So I think that's one thing to on my radar right now is this is going to be a team at the top of the country for all year long. I think the Bobcats play at Merrimack, at New Hampshire this weekend, so not any easier going and playing some road games against Hockey East. They play Boston University still coming up next month. That's a single game at home. They also get one more shot at Alaska. But it should be. This is going to be a really good team.
I'll add two things. I should clarify for his part. Matej Marinov has played 4 of the 6 games. His save percentage is .925. That's rock solid. And while we're on the top of Quinnipiac, 2 alums also made their NHL debuts this week. And Zach Metza, Charles Alexis Legault. Congratulations to them. Both debuted on the same night. So everything's coming up Quinnipiac here in the early part of the season.
Yeah, good for Zach Metza too, by the way. A 5-year college player who was just a terrific defenseman for a long time for Quinnipiac, and overlooked because he's not very tall. But that was pretty cool to see, I thought.
For sure. Let's whip around the country here. We'll start with the Independents, where we get more good early season results. Lindenwood knocked off number 5 Denver on Friday. Stonehill went to Sacred Heart, got a win there on Saturday, and even LIU goes into Penn State in Pagula, gives the Nittany Lions a scare. Penn State pulls off the 5-4 win, but another good showing by LIU. So some nice things happening on the independent scene.
Yeah, the big story has to be Lindenwood knocking off Denver at home. By the way, Denver did go to Lindenwood, so also credit to Denver for making a road trip like that. That was a big-time goal by Jacob Fletcher to win it. It was in the third period. It was late in the third. The game's tied 2-2. He got matched up on the forward, and I don't know if he recognized that was a forward defending him, but he pulled out the moves and he buried it. That was pretty impressive way to end the win there. I know David Carr lamented Denver taking a couple penalties in the third period. Lindenwood didn't score on the power play, but it, probably hurt Denver's chances to produce offense. The other thing, again, shots on goal, dead even in that game. Lindenwood played right with Denver the whole time. Just a pretty impressive result for the Lions. The second night, then Denver came and did what they do. Shots were 49-19. Denver wins 4-0. But impressive signature win for the Lions. I mean, they had some really good wins last year. I can think of going into the Kohl Center and getting a win. That was one that stood out. They beat Omaha on the road. So they beat Notre Dame on the road. So they had done this before, but really, being able to do this one at home is a pretty big deal for the program.
First win versus a ranked opponent on home ice in program history. So congrats. Lindenwood has wins in 3 of their last 4. Stonehill, as we mentioned, gets the split with Sacred Heart and the win at Sacred Heart. They played just the one game on the weekend. Connor Andrelovich, 39 of 41 saves in that one against a good Sacred Heart team on the road.
Yeah, Sacred Heart, preseason favorites to win Atlantic. So really nice win for Stonehill there. And one team I'm just continually impressed by early this season is Long Island, because Long Island not only lost its head coach, but several of its best players ended up going to Ferris too. So I thought this might be a tough season for Long Island, and it hasn't shown up necessarily in the wins and losses yet, but that 4-2 loss to BU to open the season, Long Island actually outshot BU in that game. The way Long Island played against Penn State, stayed with the Nittany Lions the whole time. And even after going down in the third period, being able to tie it late in the third there and send it to overtime. Of course, Penn State did win in overtime, but just excellent competitiveness from Long Island early this season.
Should also note too, Alaska with a split at home against Michigan Tech. Nice win there also for the Nanooks. Let's talk Atlantic hockey. RIT gets its first win under Matt Thomas. They beat Clarkson. Nice win for RIT. 6-2, 3 points for Simon Isabel, and a good goaltending performance for RIT. A game you said before we came on the air that you were able to watch this weekend.
Yeah, and they played this game at the home of the Rochester Americans, actually, at Blue Cross Arena in Rochester. 10,500 people at the game. Having watched the game, it was a legit 10,500 people. It was absolutely packed in there. Great atmosphere, and RIT came through. I think Jakub Kurbacek, the goaltender for RIT, really was impressive, especially in the first period. Clarkson was all over RIT in the first period. He made several incredible saves, including the one he picked out of the air with his paddle. They didn't get a great view on the replay, but that sure looked like one of the saves of the year. If they had a better clip of it, that would have been going around the internet. And then they were able to strike fast. Anytime Clarkson made a turnover, it was in the back of the net. Just a great performance for RIT, and the fans were definitely loving it. Early in the game, it felt like, oh boy, Clarkson might be ready to win this one going away, but Kurbacek was just fantastic in that game. And if RIT can get that type of goaltending performance, that would be big.
Canisius gets a split at Colgate, and a big story developing here early on is Grant Porter, forward for Canisius, has a 7-game point streak to start the year. Got a point in every game. He's got the longest point streak in college hockey. Let's see, they are at 5 wins in their first 7 games for Canisius, a team we've talked about quite a bit already this year.
Yeah, it looks like his line with Walter Zacher is really going, and and that's might be a good combo because Walter Zacher really likes to shoot the puck. Any chance he gets, he'll shoot. He's a goal scorer, and that combo is really producing right now. So we'll see if they can keep it up here as the season goes along. But that Grant Porter Walter Zacher combination has been fantastic so far this year, and Canisius is off to a 5-2 start, heading to Bentley this weekend.
A couple other results. Air Force, after getting pounded pretty badly on Friday against St. Thomas, comes back with a 6-2 win the next night. Excuse me, Will Dawson with a pair of goals, so really nice response from them. Holy Cross defeated Mercyhurst on Saturday before falling last night, Tuesday night, to Quinnipiac. Any final thoughts on Atlantic hockey before we move on?
I think we've seen this several times in the past couple of years where a team gets absolutely beat by like 9 goals. I want to say, was there like a Michigan BU game or something like a couple of years ago or something? There's one of those teams had a game where they got absolutely destroyed and then came back and won the next night. And my takeaway is maybe we shouldn't make grand assumptions and statements on a team based on one game. And just because you get beat by 8 goals one night, that clearly shows that, you can come back and win the next night and have a series split. So what a crazy series that is for Air Force in St. Thomas.
All right, Big Ten. The big news, Michigan State is the new number 1. They go to Boston University, pick up a road sweep. Caden Lindstrom with his first career goal. I know you were really high on the Spartans, obviously, for good reason. But they showed up and showed out on this past weekend.
Also, I forgot to mention in that 11-2 game, Air Force played 3 of its 6 goalies, or do they have 5? It was 5, yeah.
5. So
they didn't get to all 5. Michigan State is not going to play 5 goalies this year.
Nope.
We kind of know who they've got. I think they're a pretty complete team, big, strong team. And, I was able to catch a little bit of this series, but a pretty good series, I thought. Pretty entertaining. Michigan State, I just feel they've got a lot of elements that you want in a team. They've got the high-end skill. They've got they can bring some physicality. They've got some younger, dynamic players. They've got some older players. And then, of course, they've got the goaltending. So just a really good mix. The first night, Michigan State goes up, 3-1 in the first and just kind of cruises to a victory. even though, Austin Baker took a 5-minute major in the first period of that game. And I thought that was a really key point that BU wasn't able to make some hay on that major. Now, the second game, Michigan State wins 4-3 in overtime. A nice comeback from BU to push that to overtime, actually. A couple late goals there in the third. But how about that overtime? I mean, that was incredible. If you didn't see it, I suggest you try to search out a clip of that, because that was one of the craziest ones I've seen. So Michigan State goes down on an odd man rush. I can't remember if it was saved or the guy missed it wide. Comes the other way. BU has a great chance. I think it's Iserman that shoots it. It trickles through the goalie, and it's about to cross the line. Like, half the puck did cross the line, but you need the whole thing to cross. Michigan State defender pulls it off the goal line and then sends it the other way. Riker Lee sets up Matt Basgall, who one-times at home for the winner. Just an insane back and forth to end that one. That was good overtime hockey there.
Yeah, great hockey. We'll get more into the hockey side of things later on, but we've talked at length about BU's youth this year. Still figuring it out early in the season. And often that number one tag early on with a young team can be a bit of a burden. So they've got plenty of time to sort it out, but full value for Michigan State's 2 wins. They're clicking. I'm scrolling through their stats page right now, and they have an incredible amount of guys already on the score sheet with a goal, with multiple goals. You've talked about their balance and their depth, and it's showing itself early on.
For sure. And the other thing that's probably compounded it for a little bit for BU is Sasha Boisvert hasn't really been healthy. He hasn't been in the lineup consistently, and he's a big-time difference maker and a goal scorer. So that doesn't help. But yeah, I would expect, Michigan State to be at the top of the country all year long. We saw the dynamic abilities of Riker Lee this weekend. He's a really skilled player. He's one of the best players in the USHL last year, and he made some just high end plays, and I think he showed why he is a first-round pick of the Nashville Predators. Just a terrific player, and just adds to the depth there.
It's a pretty good weekend elsewhere around the Big Ten. We talked about Penn State against Long Island, Wisconsin, a couple of overtime ties against Mike Hastings' old program, Minnesota State, Ohio State with a split against UConn, Notre Dame sweeps St. Lawrence, so Brock Sheehan gets his first wins as head coach, and Michigan just keeps filling the net. They sweep Robert Morris. Michigan has 40 goals already this year. No one else has 30.
Michigan is absolutely lighting it up offensively. Just as impressive. I think they've been solid defensively so far.
Yeah.
They haven't allowed more than 2 goals in the game yet. Things get way harder this weekend. I think one of the appointment viewings this weekend is going to be Michigan against Western Michigan. This is a home series. The Broncos, we'll talk about them in a little bit, but they've been fantastic this year too, as we expected them to be. This will be a little bit of a measuring stick here for the Wolverines. The one thing I do remember, there was a time last year when it was in November, Michigan was scoring an incredible amount of goals. I think they had 10 in a weekend at BU. They had a solid weekend in sweeping Notre Dame. And then they scored, remember when they scored 6 and 10 against Penn State on the road? And we are like, this team it's hard to stop them. And then they were below 500 the rest of the year after that. So Michigan, I'm sure the coaching staff is impressing on the team. Don't slow down here. Things can get a little bit harder. Keep it going, unlike what happened last year. So, yeah, the Wolverines, Western Michigan will be a great series. I thought Minnesota State, Wisconsin, we saw exactly what we're going to see with these two teams. They are not going to be easy to score on. And the Saturday night game where it was 2-2, there were 3 5-minute majors in that game, and neither team could really pull away. Wisconsin took 2 5-minute majors, and Minnesota State took 1. And, Minnesota State scored both goals on the 5-minute major. So
First period, yeah.
it's those teams are offense is not going to be easy when you play the Badgers or the Mavs this year.
Yeah, the Mavs got 2 on the power play in the first period, so the Badgers had to rally in the second for that overtime tie. Still unbeaten on the year, I think 2-0-2 are the Badgers. Mentioned Brock Sheehan and Notre Dame sweeping St. Lawrence. Nicholas Kempf got his first career shutout on Saturday. 5-point weekend for Evan Warner. And Ohio State that split with UConn. What were your other takeaways this weekend?
The other thing we have to mention too is Wisconsin freshman Oliver Tulk went 15-0 in the faceoff dot on Friday.
Oh,
You will rarely see something like that. I think I covered a game one time where Shane Pinto went like 18-0. And I actually went back and rewatched that because I was like, there's no way this is right. The stats guys had to have screwed this up. I went back and rewatched and they were right. But Oliver Tulk Friday night.
Wait, was that a North Dakota home game?
It was actually in the NCHC pod.
Okay, was that the same stat crew?
No, it was Omaha Stat Crew.
Okay.
I think did that. And that
Box
was
on you if you were ever to doubt.
Yeah, no.
If they ever caught you reviewing video on your own, man, you'd be barred from the press box.
I would be unwelcome there. But yeah, Oliver Tulk, incredible performance.
Yeah, he's got a point in every game this year too so far.
He was one of the CHL pickups, a great pickup there. Yeah, that was, and as you mentioned, Notre Dame getting Brock Sheehan's first wins in impressive fashion.
In the CCHA, arguably the biggest story, Augustana with a home sweep of Arizona State, 4-2, 5-2, so 9 goals on the weekend, 9 different goal scorers for Augustana.
Yeah, especially, Friday night coming in and going down 2-0 early in that game and being able to battle back, I thought was showed something there from Augustana. And then coming back Saturday night and again, just a great performance. And I think, in that game, Augie did outshoot ASU Saturday night, but early this season, Josh Kotai's been pretty good again. He's been a little bit of a difference maker. He didn't need to be this weekend necessarily, but he is a difference maker. The other guy who I'm just really impressed with every time I watch him is Hayden Hennon, 6'4" defenseman. He is from a town of Hallock, Minnesota. If you're probably unfamiliar with Hallock if you're listening to this. It is not exactly a hockey hotbed. It is in the neighborhood of Warroad and Roseau, which are 2 very famous hockey towns. And Hallock just has not produced a ton of great hockey players over the years. And, the Hennon brothers came out of there and they were putting up just video game numbers at Hallock, which guys tend to sometimes because they don't play the best schedule. And so I think everyone was kind of unsure on what the Hennon brothers were going to be for Augustana. And they have been just great pickups. And I don't know how NHL scouts can't be watching Hayden Hennon and what he's done at Augustana. He is now a junior, but really impressive. Last year he had 15 points plus 9. He already has 4 points in 4 games this year plus 4. His brother Tyler has 3 points in 4 games, and Tyler did not get Hayden's height. He's a smaller player, but he plays fast and he gets to the net. So the Hennon brothers have been just great pickups for Garrett Raboyne.
Very nice weekend for Augustana. We talked about a team you saw up close 2 weeks ago, St. Thomas. We talked about their loss to Air Force Saturday. We didn't really talk about their 11-2 win the night before. 16 different Tommies hit the score sheet in that one.
Yeah, and they played that game without their best player, Lucas Wallen.
That's right.
Play.
Yeah.
So if you were gonna tell me after watching St. Thomas and how much Lucas Wallen meant to that team and how much he drove their offense, that they were going to go score 11 goals without him in the lineup, I would say, how long did it take? How are we talking a full month? But I thought that was a really important weekend for other guys to step up and produce. And the one guy who, probably deserves a little bit of a nod there is Josh Giuliani, because he was the one who moved up onto that line with Van Vliet and Gaffney. And Giuliani comes through and scores 2 goals in that Friday night game. So, when guys are out, you need some guys to step up, and for him to fill in on that line and do a nice job had to be nice for the Tommies.
8-point night for that line, 4-point night for Alex Gaffney, and then Luke Leyland 2 goals and goes 10 of 13 in the face-off circle. Let's talk
Mason
ECAC.
Pullman +5, by the way.
+5. I missed that. Yeah,
Yeah.
there it is. Not bad. Let's move to the ACAC. We talked at length about Quinnipiac. So Union stays hot, sweeping Niagara 4-0-1. That matches their best start since 2018. Cameron Corpy, first career shutout Saturday. We've talked before that they've opened the new arena. A nice month of October so far for Union.
And if you want my team that I think is going to be right there, a little bit below Quinnipiac, I don't know if anyone's going to get to Quinnipiac, but I think this is their emergence of Union this year. The Union had a really sneaky good year last year, and then returned a lot of its best players. They brought in a freshman defenseman, Etienne Lassard, who was super dynamic last year in the USHL. He already has 5 points in 5 games. Ben Muthersbaugh is back after that great freshman year, and he's got 5 points in 5 games. This, as you mentioned, Cameron Corpy, he has a pretty impressive history of success in net, and great start for him there as a sophomore goaltender. So, he was at Michigan last year. He comes over this year and looks like he's going to be the guy. I think this is a really sneaky good team that people aren't really talking about. Tyler Dunbar, the CC, transfers 6 points from the back end in 5 games and is +7. So really impressive start for Tyler Dunbar, who had 1 point as a freshman, 1 point as a sophomore, and now he's come along.
Also want to talk about Colgate a little bit. We referenced their split with Canisius earlier. They scored 3 times Saturday to turn a 3-2 deficit into a 5-3 win. The shots on goal were pretty much 2-1 in favor of Colgate. They got a couple power play goals and a dominant night all around in the face-off circle. A nice win for Colgate.
Yeah, that is, especially to have to come back in the third period. That was a game that Canisius led going into the third, and Walter Zacher scored a goal late in the second, and those can kind of be backbreakers, when you score one in the last minute, that might have been, last couple seconds of the period, and Colgate comes out and scores right away in the third to tie it. Impressive way to come back for the Raiders.
The Raiders also won 40 of 62 faceoffs in that game, which is an incredible number. Hockey East, we've talked a little bit about BU, so let's talk about BC, a 5-1 win at RPI. James Hagen's 2 goals, Luca Cloutier with his first career shutout. Also want to get into Vermont's split at St. Cloud State a little bit too, if you don't mind.
Yeah, BU's, started the season at home against Quinnipiac, made the trip to Minnesota, on the road against RPI. I think I'm really excited for Friday night. BC's hosting Denver on Friday, and that should be a fantastic game. We'll see some really top players. The big story for Boston College early this year is Dean Letourneau.
Yeah.
BC's
I'm locked.
Yeah, he has been. He's a 6'7" power forward. He came to BC last year. I think there's some debates. Should he have played one more year, and should he play a year in junior hockey, or was he ready to come in? He's a first-round pick of the Boston Bruins, so you have all this attention on you. You're playing in Boston, which means even more attention. And then as a freshman, he did not score in 36 games. He had 3 assists. In 4 games, his first career goal was an absolute rocket against Minnesota, a big-time goal to tie that game, I think, if I recall off the top of my head, late in the third period. He scored again last weekend. He has 4 points in 4 games, so he's already surpassed his total from last year. Sometimes these big guys just take longer, and he's only a sophomore, but if they can keep getting production from Dean Letourneau, that is so big for this BC team. And
he's a young sophomore too. And the thing that jumped out at me was in Hockey East play in particular last year, 24 games, just 17 shots on goal. So really wasn't much of a factor during league play. Through 4 games overall this year, he's already put 9 shots on goal. So he's a factor.
Yeah.
It's no doubt he's emerged.
And he didn't have a shot against Quinnipiac in the opener. So he has 9 in the last 3 games. He put 5 on Minnesota, got an assist in that game. Then he scored that goal late in the third to tie it. And then he had a goal and an assist against RPI. So he's maybe there's some confidence that he's finding there. But Dean Letourneau, definitely one of the big stories early this season in college hockey.
Vermont gets a split at St. Cloud State. Not an easy barn to win hockey games at. 2-1 overtime win Friday. Sebastian Tornquist, the game-winning goal. Aiden Wright stopped 45 of 46 shots for the Catamounts.
An impressive goaltending performance. Also had to be kind of a cool game for Max Strand. He is from Roseau, which we earlier mentioned. He won Mr. Hockey in the state of Minnesota. So he is coming back home. He's playing against a Roseau player on the other team in Noah Ernest. So and a couple of Waro guys in Thor Bufflin and Damon Gardner. So we had a little bit of a Section 8 Minnesota high school hockey flavor in this game, but I'm sure that had to be a pretty special weekend for Max Strand, who had a really good freshman year for the Catamounts. And Max Strand had a point on that overtime goal. And then the second night, St. Cloud State unlocked its power play against Vermont and goes 4 for 5 with the extra man. All 4 goals were power play goals. 2 of them from Austin Bernovic, who we know is an elite goal scorer.
That's all he does. Yep.
That's what he does. Barrett Hall had a really highlight reel goal as well for St. Cloud State. And Max Smolinski, the RPI transfer, gets his first as a St. Cloud State Husky in that game.
A couple of other things of note out of Hockey East. Northeastern and UMass opened the Hockey East schedule. Northeastern got the 4-2 win Friday. UMass bounces back the next night out of conference with a 5-4 overtime win against Bentley. It's a weird audio glitch. Some news off the ice too. New Hampshire's Marty Lavins, according to Mike McMahon of College Hockey News, could be out at least through the Thanksgiving weekend. Big loss there.
That is, yeah. I know New Hampshire is expecting him to be a big point producer for them this year, especially after losing Ryan Conmey. So that is a loss. The UMass Bentley game, going back to that was a pretty wild one. I ran into former Bentley alternate captain Tucker Hodgson on the weekend, and I think he was it was killing them that Bentley didn't get the W in that one. But Larry Keenan with the game tying goal in the third period, Delelche with the winner. And the one guy that's really been impressive to me for UMass has been Nestersill. He's the first round pick, but sometimes he's a big body guy, 6'6", power forward. Chicago Blackhawks pick. I was curious how quickly it would click for Nestersill, and it's clicking.
He leads Hockey East in shots on goal.
26 of them in 5 games. He can shoot, he can score. He's got 5 goals in 5 games, 7 points. Just a fantastic start for him.
Jack Musa and Vaclav Nestersill 1-2 in Hockey East, scoring early on through 5 games. Okay, NCHC. Colorado College with a road sweep at Northern Michigan. Minnesota Duluth with a home-and-home sweep against Bemidji State. Western Michigan with a sweep at UMass Lowell. And we previously touched on Uni split with Minnesota, the St. Cloud State split, the Denver split. What were your takeaways from the league you cover this past weekend?
I think the one question right now is whether Max Plant, Zam Plant, and Jason Shagabe is the best line in college hockey.
Have we named them yet? I saw Bruce Siski was trying to come up with a name for that unit.
These guys are all sophomores. They put those guys together for like the first game last year, and Max Plant went out long-term with an injury. Mm-hmm. And heading into the season, Scott Sandelin had to make a decision. Do you put these guys together? Do you split them up and try to balance offense? Well, he's put them together, and it's working. They are dominating teams on basically a nightly basis. They have a combined 34 points in 6 games. By the way, I'm fully aware that there's some Penn State people that are yelling at me saying that some of their lines aren't the best line, because they have an argument too with Serrato's line and DeMarsico. But yeah, and on top of that, they are Plant Shagabe. They're plus 24 combined right now.
No.
They just keep dominating teams, and really that is, they're not getting a ton of secondary scoring, a little bit, but they're not needing a ton. And the only time that anyone's really had an answer was Saturday against Augie. Augustana was able to slow them down that night and win. Other than that, they are just lighting it up right now. They go to Minnesota this weekend, so Minnesota will have its hands full. We'll see how they try to defend that team, but and then the week after they go to North Dakota, so they have a couple tough road trips here. But nobody's had an answer for them yet.
Western Michigan, 2 wins at UMass Lowell, 2-1, 6-0. Hampton Slakinski does his thing on Saturday with the shutout. Pretty nice weekend for the Broncos.
Yeah, and that, I know they were bumped down in the polls after the loss to Ferris. Again, you outshoot a team 50-18 and lose. It's probably just hockey and a really good goaltender. I think they showed that this weekend, making the road trip out to Lowell and really playing the way that they can play. Getting production from kind of all over the lineup too. I think maybe one of the guys that flies under the radar who I really, really like is Ty Henricks. He's a big 6'5" power forward who goes to the net. He scored 2 goals on Saturday night against Lowell. I think Ty Henricks has a really, really bright future. He had 8 goals, 13 points last year, so his point total didn't blow anyone away. But again, he was a freshman. I think that this is the type of player that Pat Ferschweiler just really excels with, and he's just a classic Western Michigan Bronco type of player. and he had a great weekend this weekend.
William Whitelaw, too. Perhaps he's found a home in Kalamazoo. 4 goals and 27 shots on goal through his first 4 games as a Bronco.
Yeah, that's what he does. He's a scorer. He has been throughout his career. Again, he also loves to shoot the puck. He did that at his previous couple stops too. He played at Wisconsin a couple years ago as a freshman. He led Wisconsin in shots on goal as a freshman. He had 123 that year. Last year, he played at Michigan. Again, he was second on the team in shots on goal. So William Whitelaw is going to shoot the puck a lot. He's a highly skilled player, and he's playing with some pretty good players at Western.
Yeah, he can beat you at even strength. 25 career goals, only 4 of them on the power play. Does have 1 shorty, so very good 5-on-5 goal scorer as well. Okay, that's it for our roundup. As we look ahead, lots of great matchups that you've already alluded to this weekend. We've got the Western Michigan home and home, Denver at Boston College, and for the 17th time in the last 15 years, we've got a new arena opening in college hockey. St. Thomas will open the doors on the Lee and Penny Anderson Arena Friday against Providence. So that will also be must-see viewing. Another good weekend ahead in college hockey.
Yeah, a lot of great matchups. Obviously, the opening of a new arena is going to be exciting. It always is. We were able to see some of the pictures of what that building looks like. It looks fantastic. I'm sure the fans in St. Paul are really excited for that. But yeah, I kind of look up and down the sheet here and see a lot of intriguing matchups. Even it's cool to see a team like UMass going out to Omaha. I think that's going to be an intriguing series. I'm curious to see how Omaha handles a team like UMass. I think a lot of eyes are going to be on Denver, BC. Classic matchup between powerhouses there. We've got CCHA, Augie and Bemidji playing. Should be an interesting matchup there. And, Hockey East, BU gets into Hockey East play against UConn. And again, I'm really excited about my trip here to see Clarkson. Watched a little bit of Clarkson this year now. Some young defensemen that are very aggressive, and I think they're learning when they can be aggressive and when they can't. They're a team that can pop offense in a hurry, both these teams have. I think there are 21 freshmen on these two teams, so I think both these teams are showing what it's like when you have a lot of young players. For a minute, they look like they're world beaters. Then you see the inconsistency happen. So it is Clarkson's home opener, first game, and it's North Dakota's first true road game of the year.
Just going to say the exact same thing. Yeah, they had the neutral game against St. Thomas at the XL Center, but first time on the road for reals.
For real. The last time North Dakota went out to Clarkson was 1999. That's the only time they've ever been out to Potsdam. And I've been rereading those stories. I love newspapers.com. So good.
That was the 99-2000 season, correct?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Yep. And the Saturday night game, according to the story written by Cap Carey, said that the starting goalie at Clarkson's head coach wanted to have a chat with the goalie. And I don't know if they didn't have a timeout left or what, but he decided to pull the starting goalie for one shift to go have a talk with him, and he put in the backup goalie. And during that one shift, Jeff Panzer got a clean breakaway, and he scored. And he just said, go back out there. A little bit frustrated in what happened. Good times. Love reading these old college hockey stories. Love going to these places that I watch on the stream all the time, and actually getting to experience it for myself is really exciting. This is going to be a brand new arena for me. So I've already been getting recommendations in town. You know what? I didn't realize how many D1 coaches that Canton in that little area has produced. It's actually really impressive. There are guys all over the country from that little area. So, yeah, should be a great weekend.
Should be a great weekend. Enjoy that trip. And thanks as always for joining us this week.
Absolutely. We'll chat next week.
Thank you to the folks at Forum Communications for getting this show off the ground as they do every single week. And thank you all for listening. Please enjoy the hockey.